I worked here in around 2009 on a community project, and that was the first time I'd ever been here. And I think that was the first community project I ever did as a practitioner. And this is where, and I've only just realised this now you've asked me this question, this area is where I realised the importance of participatory work in the community. I've just realised that now.
Expand that, unpack that.
So, because that was the first time I'd ever done community work or arts work within a community, I realised it worked, number one, and I realised that areas like Moston, Harper Hay, areas like the whole of North Manchester, which are often overlooked, are the areas that need it the most, and that the young people are really looking for something extra, something more, which I feel is more available in central and south Manchester. Before the actual session started, I think is the first key point for me as a practitioner, which was being trained by the previous lead facilitator, JANEIRO. And we did this training where it was very kind of purposefully unclear, because he left us to make our own mind up and interpretation of it. And that was the first key moment when I realised this is going to be an adventure that Reese and I will go on together. And it's not going to be like any other project I think I've ever done, which was daunting and exciting, but I didn't know what was going to happen. So that was the first key point. And then the first session, we played a game which Reese and I invented called Smooth Pass, which actually demonstrated all of the key roles and responsibilities of being an agent, but we didn't realise it when we made up the game. We realised that that game was really significant actually at the end of the first cycle. This was the main concern of mine in taking on this project, because I've spent my whole career and my practice was all about success in a way, and supporting people who are very vulnerable to achieve some success, and making sure that it's inclusive, that making sure that my work enables all people who engage with my work to succeed in some way, maybe not all in the same way, but in some way. And it really jarred with me, the idea of failure and allowing that to happen, and I wondered if I could do that and allow sort of my participants to fail. But I've realised now that's actually very important, and it's realistic, and there's very little work that goes on in the community in arts practice which is realistic and represents real life. It's all very fluffy, and this project has really changed my own practice. It's had an impact on how I feel about my own work. Yeah, it's very clearly economically deprived, but I think what's more important to me is that it's deprived culturally. I kind of feel like things really going on here, and that was more of a consideration to me than that it's economically deprived, because you go anywhere in inner city Manchester is economically deprived, and I kind of, those are the areas that I always work in, so it doesn't really come as any surprise or shock. But I feel like inner city Manchester is more culturally vibrant than this area, and that was more of a consideration, I think.
How's it been doing this project at the Miners? How's the interaction been with the Miners community centre, really.
Really interesting, and I think this is like an old school concept of what a community centre is, and I think it's amazing that it's still going. You know, these places I thought didn't really exist anymore, and I'm so used to working in an organisation, in a building that is purpose built and this kind of thing, and being here has made me realise, actually, for myself and for the participants and for my own work, that you can make things work. Like, you don't need all of this stuff, you know. We're made to believe that we need to have this equipment and this space and a warm rehearsal space. Well, you know, we can make work inside the communities that you're serving, you know.
Do you think the participants have appreciated the fact that it's here in the community?
Yeah, I think so. I think at first they thought it was strange to have this project in this building, because almost, if it's at the Factory Youth Zone or one of these purpose-built buildings, it has some kind of kudos to it. It adds some kind of value for the young people, because they think, okay, this is proper. Maybe for them, this building is not proper. It makes it feel like the project, it has to be here because we couldn't afford anywhere else, or it has to be here because whatever different reasons that may be. But they realised, I think, why it's here throughout the project. But I think at first they thought it was maybe a bit strange. Yeah, they have. To go into something knowing that there's no creative output, there is a huge creative output, but in the same way that I usually have, was very, very strange. And I wondered if my own methodology could be transferred into something which, number one, has a strict method that you should stick to and it's right for you to stick to, but also whatever result is projects, you know. But it works somehow, because the process is the creative process. It's very clear that the process comes from, that the method comes from Faustini's creative process, and he's just mirroring that, you know. But yeah, very, very strange. But actually, the kind of outcomes that you have in the first cycle, like the community event where the young people pitch to the community and come, these are actually creative. All these are creative results, just in a different way. And all of the things which are important in making a play with an ensemble of people are the same. They're just as important in this process. When making an ensemble of entrepreneurs, it's the same thing. And that's what I realised, is that these creative skills are totally transferable, which adds value for me to the work that I'm doing as a practitioner, and that all sort of participatory practitioners are doing, because it's not just about creating artwork or a play or music. It's actually exploring skills which can be used for many, many other things. It made me realise I could do that as well.
Have you had a great idea?
Yeah, I've had loads through this process, and I thought, why is it taking me till 30 and for somebody else to tell me that creative people, or people in the creative industry, can also be business people? I didn't realise that for some reason. I learned from the young people 150%. I've learned a lot from them. That you can have a very small and unformed idea, and if you want to do it, you can make it happen. And I realised that's something that I was hanging around for in my own work, for somebody to fund me or for somebody to give me a job. I didn't make things happen for myself, and it's totally changed the way that I am thinking about things as a practitioner. I'm now setting up a number of projects with a method, really thoughtfully, which I've never ever done before. And I learned that from this process of the agency, but also from watching the young people develop, and they've sparked ideas in me and those discussions, and just seeing, you know, the excitement and enthusiasm for business actually, and for social enterprise. They've totally inspired me. I think that they've done a lot more for me than I've done for them, you know. Really feel galvanized by this whole process. Projects like this, which have such a high profile in the community, it's very visible, make it very clear what's going on, you know, and that this is young people who are really very responsible, making a change in the community, want to be part of the community. Because the problem is with areas like Moston and many, many other areas across the country is that young people want to get out of them. They don't want to stay and to make change. They want to go somewhere else and make change, you know, and to change their own lives. And, you know, we have to encourage people to engage with their own community, but in order to do that, the community has to let them and has to trust them a little bit. And the agency is about trusting, and trusting that the young people the participants are gonna come to their own conclusion, and that will be the right one for them and for the community, because this is their home. We can't come here from the other side of Manchester and say what you should be doing. This is not what it's about. It's just about allowing them to explore, but in order for that to happen, the community has to trust them, and to trust them, the agency has to be visible.